The champagne tasted like liquid starlight, or maybe that was just a vertigo talking. James couldn't remember his third glass, but he was definitely holding his fourth. The penthouse gallery hummed with Manhattan's elite tech moguls, venture capitalists, people whose watches cost more than his car. He shouldn't have been there. His wife Rachel had gotten the invitation somehow through her consulting firm. She'd been too tired to attend, nursing another headache that had become more frequent since their argument started. So James went alone, desperate for a distraction from their crumbling marriage. That's when he saw her. She stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, silhouetted against the city lights. Her dress was midnight blue, cut dangerously low in the back, revealing smooth skin that seemed to shimmer under the gallery lights. Auburn hair cascaded over one shoulder. When she turned, her eyes locked onto his with unsettling precision, emerald green, almost luminescent. "You don't belong here," she said, appearing beside him without seeming to walk. Her voice was silk and smoke. James laughed nervously. "That obvious?" "I meant it as a compliment." She traced one finger along the rim of his glass. "Everyone here is hollow, performing. But you—" Her eyes studied him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. "You're searching for something real." "I'm James." "Natasha." She didn't offer her hand. Instead, she stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something exotic he couldn't place. "Tell me, James, when was the last time you felt truly alive?" The question caught him off guard. His mind flashed to Rachel, to their silent dinners and separate bedrooms. "I don't remember." Natasha's lips curved into a smile that didn't quite reach those strange eyes. "Would you like to?" His throat went dry. She was propositioning him, wasn't she? Every rational thought screamed to walk away, to think of Rachel, of his vows. But Rachel hadn't touched him in months. Rachel barely looked at him anymore. "Where?" he managed. "Somewhere private." She leaned in, her breath warm against his ear. "Somewhere you'll never forget." James felt his resistance crumbling like wet sand. "I'm married." "I know." Her hand slid down his arm, fingers intertwining with his. "Does that matter to you right now?" It should have. God, it should have. But when she pulled him gently toward the private elevator at the back of the gallery, he followed. The doors closed behind them, and his reflection in the polished steel looked like a stranger, flushed, eager, guilty. The elevator didn't go down. It went up. "Where are we going?" James asked, as the numbers climbed past the penthouse floor, past floors that shouldn't exist. Natasha squeezed his hand. "Somewhere safe," she whispered. "Somewhere they can finally meet you." "They?" The elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a corridor that didn't belong in any Manhattan building. Walls of brushed titanium, lights pulsing soft blue, air that tasted like ozone and something sweet. And that's when James realized he'd made a terrible mistake. The corridor stretched impossibly long, doors on either side sealed shut with no visible handles. Natasha led him forward, her heels clicking against the metallic floor in perfect rhythm. James's head swam. Too much champagne, or maybe something in the champagne. "Natasha, I don't think—" "Shh." She pressed a finger to his lips, then traced it down his jaw, his neck. "Don't think. That's your problem, James. You think too much, analyze too much, feel." She stopped at a door that slid open soundlessly. The room beyond stole his breath. It was beautiful in a sterile way. Curved walls like the inside of some elegant spacecraft, ambient lighting that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere. A bed dominated the center, sheets white as bone, no windows, no obvious exits except the door they'd entered through. "This is—" James started, but Natasha was already pulling him inside. The door sealed behind them with a pneumatic hiss. She turned to face him, her back against the wall. Her dress had somehow loosened, revealing the curve of her shoulders, the swell of her breasts. His body responded traitorously. "Come here," she commanded softly. James stepped forward, pulled by something deeper than lust, a primal need to close the distance, to touch, to forget everything waiting for him below. His hands found her waist, fingers splaying across that impossibly smooth skin. She was warm, alive, real. Her lips met his with crushing intensity. James forgot about Rachel, forgot about the strange corridor, forgot everything except the taste of Natasha's mouth and the way her body pressed against his. She pulled him toward the bed, and he went willingly, desperately. Her dress fell away like water. His shirt followed. Her hands explored him with practiced expertise, finding every sensitive point, every place that made him gasp. When she pushed him onto the bed, he didn't resist. She straddled him, that auburn hair falling around them like a curtain. "Last chance," she whispered against his lips, "to go back to your ordinary life." "I don't want ordinary," James breathed, reaching for her. "Good." Her smile widened impossibly. "Neither do we." She leaned down, and he lost himself in the sensation. Her skin against his, the weight of her, the heat building between them. His hands roamed her back, her thighs, discovering curves that seemed almost too perfect, too symmetrical. But as passion built toward its crescendo, as Natasha moved above him with increasing urgency, James noticed something odd. The lights in the ceiling weren't just lights. They were cameras. Tiny lenses embedded in the soft glow, tracking their movements with mechanical precision. His body went rigid. "Natasha!" She sensed his change immediately. Her hand shot out, gripping his wrist with shocking strength as he tried to sit up, to pull away. "Don't!" she hissed. And suddenly the seductive woman was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating in those green eyes. "Don't move." "What the hell?" "If you pull away," she whispered, her grip tightening painfully, "I'll scream." James froze. His mind raced, trying to process what was happening. The cameras, her impossible strength, the way she'd appeared at the party like she'd been waiting specifically for him. "I don't understand," he managed. Natasha's expression softened slightly, but her grip remained iron. "I know, but you need to stay calm and listen very carefully. Your life depends on it." James's heart hammered against his ribs. Natasha remained poised above him, one hand pinning his wrist, her naked body suddenly feeling less seductive and more predatory. "Let me go," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I can't." Her eyes darted toward the door. If you try to leave, if you do anything that looks like resistance, they'll come in." "Who?" "Security. Or what passes for security here?" She leaned closer, her lips barely moving, voice dropping to a whisper only he could hear. "They're watching the monitors right now. They think you came here to hurt me." The bottom fell out of James's stomach. "What? No, you invited me." "They don't see it that way." Natasha's free hand traced his chest, maintaining the illusion of intimacy while her expression remained deadly serious. "On the recordings, it looks like you followed me, like you insisted on coming up here, like I was frightened, but trying to placate you." Horror washed through him in cold waves. "That's insane. You can't... This is entrapment or blackmail or..." "It's leverage," she interrupted quietly. "And if you make the wrong choice in the next few minutes, those recordings will destroy your life." James's mind spun. Rachel would see them. His friends, his colleagues, everyone. Video of him in bed with another woman, apparently coercing her. Even if he tried to explain, who would believe him? "What do you want?" His voice cracked. Natasha's expression flickered with something that might have been regret. Or pity. She shifted slightly, releasing enough pressure that circulation returned to his wrist, but not enough to let him move. "This wasn't supposed to be like this," she said softly. "I wanted you to come willingly, to choose freely. But the trial period ended tonight, and protocols required insurance." Trial period? Choose what? Nothing made sense. The room felt too warm, the air too thin. "You've been watched, James, for months. We know about your job, your marriage, your secrets." She paused. "We know about the money you've been hiding from Rachel, the account in the Caymans, your plans to leave." Ice flooded his veins. "How could you possibly?" "We know everything." Her eyes held no judgment, only cold assessment. "You're dissatisfied, intelligent, adaptable. You want more than your life offers. That makes you a candidate." "A candidate for what?" Natasha took a breath. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight that made the air feel heavy. "For recruitment." "I don't understand." "The corporate event wasn't real. Well, it was real, but it was also a test, to see how you'd react to opportunity, to temptation." She traced a finger down his jawline, the gesture mechanical now performed for the cameras. "You passed every preliminary evaluation. You're exactly what we need." "We? Who is we?" She smiled then, but there was no humor in it. That's the difficult part. Before James could respond, Natasha moved with fluid grace, pulling him upward so they sat facing each other on the bed. To the cameras, it might look intimate, but her grip on his wrist remained firm, her eyes locked on his. "I'm going to tell you something impossible," she said, "and you're going to want to panic, to scream, to fight. But you can't. If you do, I scream first, and security storms in to find you attacking me. Understand?" James nodded numbly. "Good." She took another breath. The corporate event was hosted by a company called Nexus Global. It exists on paper, has offices, employs thousands of people, but it's a shell, an interface between your world and another. Another what? Another species. The word hung in the air between them like a blade. James wanted to laugh, to call her insane, but the way she spoke, calm, matter-of-fact, watching him with those two bright eyes, stopped him. "I don't understand," he whispered. "You're not meant to, not yet." Natasha's grip loosened slightly, becoming almost gentle. "We've been here for a long time, James, walking among you, learning, integrating. Some of us have been here so long, we've nearly forgotten where we came from." "You're saying you're... what, an alien?" Such a crude word. She tilted her head, studying him. "But yes, though not in the way your movies imagine. We look like you because we've evolved to look like you, or perhaps you evolved to look like us. The DNA is compatible enough for basic function." James's vision swam. This was impossible, insane. And yet the cameras watched, and the room felt too real to be a hallucination, and Natasha's impossible beauty suddenly made a terrible kind of sense. "Why me?" he managed. "Because you're ready to leave. You just didn't know it yet." This is insane. James tried to pull away again, but Natasha held firm. "You're insane. This is some elaborate blackmail scheme or the truth." She released one of his wrists, reaching up to her own face. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes shifted, the emerald green bleeding away to reveal something beneath. Not quite silver, not quite white, but luminescent and wrong. The pupils contracted to vertical slits before she blinked, and the green returned like a mask sliding back into place. James's breath caught in his throat. Holy shit. "We've been here for centuries," Natasha continued quietly, pulling him closer in what would look like an embrace to the watching cameras. "Building infrastructure. Preparing. Your species has been selected for integration into the larger community. But it's voluntary. We don't conscript. We recruit."
Recruit for what? Expansion, exploration, evolution. Her hands moved down his back and he shivered despite his terror. Humans have potential, James, more than you realize. But you're trapped here, killing each other over resources and borders and belief systems. We offer something better.
By blackmailing people into joining you? Pain flickered across her face. I told you, this wasn't how I wanted this to go. You were supposed to see what we offer and choose freely. But the timeline accelerated. The selection committee requires a decision tonight.
Or what?
Or you go back to Rachel and your failing marriage and your secret bank account, and you never know this conversation happened. She paused. The recordings will be deleted. You'll remember the party, meeting me, but everything after will feel like a dream. A strange, unsettling dream you'll eventually dismiss. You can do that? Erase memories? We can do many things. Natasha's hands found his again, interlacing their fingers. But we can't force you to come with us. That's the line we don't cross. Free will is sacred, even among species you'd consider alien. James's mind reeled. Part of him still insisted this was impossible, a psychotic break or elaborate hoax. But another part, the part that had always sensed something more beyond the mundane routine of his life, believed her. Where would I go? He heard himself ask. Hope sparked in Natasha's eyes. Everywhere. Nowhere. We have settlements on 7 worlds. Research stations in dimensions your physics hasn't discovered yet. Ships that travel between stars. She leaned closer, her lips brushing his ear. You could see things humanity won't discover for 1,000 years, if they survive that long. And Rachel? Would be told you died. An accident. Quick and painless. She'd grieve, move on. Probably remarry within 3 years based on her psychological profile. No malice in her tone, just statement of fact. Or you could tell her the truth and we recruit her too, if she passes evaluation. The cold calculus of it made James sick. You're asking me to fake my death or drag my wife into this. I'm asking you to choose the life you actually want. Natasha pulled back to look at him directly. You don't love Rachel anymore. You haven't for years. You stay because it's comfortable, because divorce is messy, because you're afraid of being alone. We both know it's true. James wanted to deny it, but the words stuck in his throat. She was right. God help him, she was right. What happens if I say yes? He asked quietly. We leave tonight, through a portal in the sub-basement that connects to a transport hub in low Earth orbit. She traced patterns on his palm. You'll be processed, enhanced. Your body will be modified to handle environments your species can't survive. It's painless. Then training, assignments, a new life among the stars. And if I say no, I let you go. You wake up tomorrow with a hangover and vague memories. The recordings are purged. We find someone else. She tilted her head. But we won't come back to you, James. This is a one-time offer. He stared at her, this impossible woman who claimed to be something else entirely. The cameras watched. The room waited. Somewhere far below, Rachel was probably asleep in their bed, unaware that her husband was deciding whether to disappear forever. I need time to think. You don't have time. Natasha's grip tightened again. The evaluation window closes in 10 minutes. After that, protocols require I call security and let events unfold naturally. I don't want to do that, James. I genuinely like you, but I will if I have to. That's not a choice. That's an ultimatum. It's both. She kissed him then, soft and urgent, and he felt her desperation beneath the alien control. I'm trying to save you from yourself, from a life you hate, a world that's dying. Choose freedom. James's entire body trembled. Natasha remained close, her warmth pressing against him, her eyes searching his face. Those cameras in the ceiling tracked every movement, recording everything for whatever passed as justice among her kind. Or maybe for protection. Maybe she was as trapped as he was. 7 minutes, Natasha whispered. That's all you have left. His mind raced through the implications. If he left with her, if this wasn't an elaborate delusion,
He'd never see Earth again. Never eat pizza from his favorite place in Brooklyn. Never hear his mother's voice, though they only talk twice a year. Never attend another excruciating family dinner with Rachel's parents. Never fix what had broken between him and Rachel. Except there was nothing to fix. They'd been ghosts haunting the same apartment for 2 years, speaking in polite sentences that meant nothing, sleeping in the same bed while miles apart emotionally. The marriage was dead. They just never bothered with the funeral. "What's it like?" he asked quietly. "Out there?" Natasha's expression softened. "Beautiful. Terrifying. Vast beyond comprehension." She traced his jawline with one finger. "The first time you see a binary sunset or watch a nebula birth new stars or feel the hum of faster-than-light engines beneath your feet, it changes you. You can't go back to thinking your problems matter when you've seen how large existence actually is." "That sounds lonely." "It is. Sometimes," she smiled sadly. "But so is your life now. At least in space, the loneliness comes with wonder." James thought about his cubicle, his spreadsheets, the slow death of routine. Wake up, coffee, commute, work, commute, dinner, sleep, repeat. The highlight of his month was Thursday night poker with guys he barely liked. Was that really worth staying for? But abandoning Earth? Abandoning humanity? "You're thinking too much again," Natasha murmured. She shifted, pulling him down onto the bed once more, arranging them so their bodies pressed together intimately. Her lips found his neck, and despite everything, desire stirred. "Stop thinking. Feel." Her hands moved with purpose now, reawakening the passion they'd started before everything went sideways. James's body responded even as his mind screamed that this was manipulation, that she was using sex to cloud his judgment. But God, it felt good to be wanted, to be chosen, to matter to someone. 5 minutes, she breathed against his skin. He could feel her heartbeat, faster than human, a rapid flutter like a bird's, strange and beautiful and impossible. Her skin tasted like nothing he'd experienced, sweet and sharp at once, like exotic fruit. When she guided him inside her, James gasped. The sensation was overwhelming, electric, as if every nerve ending had been amplified. She moved above him with practiced grace, her eyes locked on his, watching for the moment when chemistry and biology and desperation would tip the scales. "Come with me," she whispered, rhythm building. "Choose this. Choose more." The pleasure built toward crisis, and James felt his resolve crumbling. What did he have to stay for? A loveless marriage? A meaningless job? The slow decay of dreams deferred until they died? But this woman, this being, offered stars, adventure, transformation, a life that mattered. His hands gripped her hips as they moved together faster, urgency overriding thought. She was right. He'd been dead for years, just going through motions. At least this way he'd die into something new. "Yes," he heard himself gasp. "Yes, I'll go." Natasha's eyes blazed with triumph and relief. "Say it clearly, for the record." "I choose to go with you." The words tumbled out between ragged breaths. "I want to leave Earth. I choose this life." She smiled, and the cameras blinked red, recording his consent. Then she stopped moving. "Natasha?" She pulled away slowly, climbing off him, suddenly all business. The passion drained from her face like water down a sink. "Good. Protocol satisfied. You can get dressed now." James lay there, confused and exposed, desire curdling into dread. What? "Your verbal consent has been recorded and authenticated." She moved to a panel in the wall that he hadn't noticed before, pressing her palm against it. A cabinet opened, revealing clothing, strange materials that looked like leather but moved like silk. "The portal opens in 3 minutes. We need to move quickly." Wait, His head spun. What just happened? Natasha turned, already half-dressed in garments that adapted to her body like living things.
Her expression held a mixture of satisfaction and something that might have been guilt.
"You made your choice," she said simply. "Now we live with it."
But James sat up, reality crashing back in. "My wife, my life, I need to—"
"Say goodbye?" She shook her head. "No time, and it would only make this harder." She tossed him strange clothing. "Put these on. The portal won't wait, and if we miss the window, we'll both be stranded here for 6 months.
James stared at the clothes in his hands, then at the door, then at Natasha. His choice suddenly felt less like liberation and more like free-falling into an abyss. "I changed my mind," he said quietly. "I want to stay." Natasha froze. "You can't." "You said it was voluntary. You said—" "The choice was voluntary. The consequences aren't." Her voice carried a note of genuine regret now. "You gave verbal consent while mentally and physically sound. It's binding." "You manipulated me." James stood, anger overriding fear. "You used sex to cloud my judgment."
"I used connection to help you see clearly." She stepped closer, no longer seductive, but simply sad. "You've wanted to leave your life for years, James. I just gave you permission."
He looked at the door. It was 5 feet away. He could run. As if reading his mind, Natasha moved between him and the exit with inhuman speed. "Don't. Please. If you try to leave now, I really will have to scream. Security will come. The recordings show you attacking me. Your life on Earth will be destroyed anyway, but you'll face it in a prison cell instead of among the stars." Trapped. Completely trapped. James felt tears burning behind his eyes. "I hate you."
"I know."
She touched his face gently.
"But you'll thank me eventually.
In a year, maybe 2, you'll look back and realize I saved you from a slow death by mediocrity." "You don't know that."
"I do."
She smiled sadly. "Because I was you once. Different planet, different species, but the same empty life, the same quiet desperation. Someone gave me this choice, and I took it." Her hand fell away. "Now get dressed. We're out of time." James stood there, naked and exposed, and more alone than he'd ever felt, staring at the alien clothing in his hands. Behind Natasha, that panel in the wall had opened further, revealing a corridor that definitely hadn't been there before. Walls of pure light, humming with energy that made his teeth ache. The portal. His last chance to run was slipping away. Slowly, with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, James began to dress.